Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm super pleased that you're here today, and today I had planned something else for us to talk about. However, one of the things that has come up this week is an issue around raising fees in your private practice or in your coaching business. And there have been a number of questions that have popped up, and a lot of them are the same. So I thought in terms of being able to provide you with useful information that's actually going to help you in your practice, that I would put the planned post away for next time. And today I would give you what you're asking for. So yes, here we go, raising fees. Now, as you know, this is a topic that I am super duper passionate about. I don't believe that we all have the same drive of building $1 million practices. At least the people that I work with and my audience are, perhaps they see the money as a bonus that comes after or as a result of doing work that feels aligned for them. It's that alignment for them that's got to come first. It's being able to step into a space with their private practice that lights them up, that feels easy, light, simple, enjoyable, makes them feel calm, makes them look forward to going to the practice instead of dreading it, makes them excited to sit with a client and do the direct client work, because instead of seeing 8 to 12 clients a day, 5 days a week, now they get to see 3 or 4 and still know that they're turning over the money that they need to be turning over. And it can feel like a huge leap to get there. I know it felt like a huge leap for me to get there too. I was bulk billing for 16 or 17 years. And so absolutely had high volume of clients, and with the situation that I was in, if clients didn't come, like they're booking 12 a day, maybe 6 would turn up. It was just kind of hit and miss who was going to attend. You couldn't charge a cancellation fee. Like, it just wasn't heard of. I was renting a room in a bulk billing medical clinic. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought that was how private practice was. And so the idea for me of having to change fees was a hard one to get my head around. I could see, like, I started being in different groups, online, for psychologists and therapists and counselors and social workers. And I could see that there were people that were, earning per session 2 or 3 times what I was. And I was absolutely baffled by it. And I remembered feeling there was such a divide between where I was and where they were. And I felt like, this is the universe telling me again that, Brooklyn, you're an outsider. You don't belong here. This isn't your space. What are you doing? And that's what it felt like to me at the time. It just felt foreign. And I can remember curiosity getting to me, and I reached out to some people and I was asking them, hey, how did you start charging these fees? And it was really interesting. Everybody had kind of a different process, and I thought, all right, well, maybe I just need to go and have a process as well. And if you listen to previous episodes, you'll hear about what happened. It was horrible. So I absolutely understand those of you who are in a position where you're recognizing that you need to increase the fees, why you might be afraid. I think a lot of the time we look to external situations. We look to other people for guidance. We look to other people for strategies. We look to other groups for strategies and guidance and all that sort of stuff. And that's the mistake that I made too. But here's the thing. You have the answers within. And nobody told me this. And if they did, I probably would have thought, oh, that sounds very pie in the sky. That sounds a bit woo woo. I don't have time for that. My business needs attention and it needs serious attention now. I don't have time to be mucking around with energy and vibration and, aligning the practice with my soul. Come on, who does that? Anyway, so I guess for a lot of practice owners at the moment, okay, the topic of raising fees is coming up. And maybe it's because in Australia anyway, we're moving into our new financial year, aren't we? That's happening in just 3 weeks. And so money is on a lot of our minds. I think there are definitely some triggers, some experiences that make you sit and reflect about the fees and the turnover for your practice. And I don't know about you, but for me, for years, I was sitting there hand administering a whisk and hand scoring a whisk and then writing up a whisk report, or I was administering a waste by hand and then I was scoring the waste by hand. And how many times I needed to double and triple and quadruple check because I was so nervous that maybe I might have skipped a line, or, oh my goodness, do you remember doing Vinelands by hand? Oh my goodness. I mean, they were just, I don't know. Look, I knew that something needed to change because they were just taking me so much time, and I knew that my business model needed to change. I was running, as I said, it was a bulk billing practice, but people were coming in for assessments. And in my head, I was like, oh, well, they can't afford to pay me for an assessment, so I better not charge too much for the assessment. And so I was completely undercharging for the assessments. I didn't know, what the going rate was. All I knew was how I was feeling about charging for those assessments. And then what was happening was I didn't have time to score and interpret and write them up and stuff like that because I was so busy. So then I'd go home late at night and I'd stay up and do it at night, and then I'd get up early the next morning and I'd do it the next morning. And so I was just, how sometimes time can be expansive. Like somebody I know used to say, if you want something done, ask a busy person. Well, I was the busy person that always managed to find time for these things, but it started to get to a point where even I was thinking something needs to change. The other thing that made me think that I needed to make a change for my practice with my fees was I was not loving the room that I was in. Okay, so at the medical centre I was working at, you can imagine, it had the bed in it, it had the sink in the corner, it had the stethoscope on the bench, it had that little dot matrix printer sitting on the bench, it had a swivel chair, and it had these really cruddy looking chairs, more like stools really, for clients to sit on, dirty carpet, dirty walls, fluorescent lighting overhead, not a plant in sight, no natural light. And yeah, it just felt sterile. And I, over time, I just started to feel less and less connected to the space. And I started to really begin thinking more and more about, wow, if I had my own space, I could do X, Y, and Z. And if I had my own space and I did decorate it the way that I wanted to, maybe I'd feel differently about my work. Maybe it would be a pleasure for me to come. Maybe it would be a pleasure for my clients to come and be in a nice space rather than in this clinical space. And what would the experience be like for a client seeing me in this room here in the medical centre versus in my own space where I had my own furnishings, where I had natural light? I had this big vision for what I wanted to create. So that was another kind of flag for me that I needed to change my fees because I knew I couldn't do that if I was bulk billing. The other thing was that I didn't really have time during the day to do my admin because, again, I was not charging much money, so I was doing everything myself. I didn't have admin support. I didn't have a bookkeeper. I didn't have anybody making a website for me. I didn't have anybody emailing my clients. I didn't have anyone giving clients reminder calls. I had to do all that admin after work. And you just kind of do it because you make a decision and you commit to it and you just kind of do it. But then eventually you start waking up to yourself and you think, this is ridiculous. Like, I have no life. My whole life is my practice and I want more. And for me, I guess the realization came a few years ago when I started dating someone and he had children, and I fell in love with him and I fell in love with his children. And it was the wake up call that I needed, that my life was out of whack. Like, nearly all my waking time was being spent thinking about the practice, doing admin for the practice, seeing clients in the practice, or sleeping. And so I realized I needed a better balance. I wanted to look after myself. I wanted to be around the children. I wanted to be around my partner. I wanted that, And so then it was like the combination of not loving the space I was in, the combination of doing all my assessments by hand. It was the combination of not having support from admin or anything like that. And it was the combination of not having this balance that, drove me to really look at what do I need to do with my fees. So I don't know if you can relate to that, but that's kind of like, I want to share that with you because, there's motivation, right? And motivation comes from avoidance of pain or, movement towards something that's going to bring you joy and pleasure. So for me at that time, it was moving away from pain and I wanted to move in the direction of pleasure. And so anyway, I charged the fees, that story, and now I incrementally charge my fees and I don't have any issue with it. But here's the thing, it's what I learned from charging fees, implementing fees, upholding fees, was that you can't look at what everybody else is doing. You can't look in one group and think, okay, that's what they're all doing. You can't then go into another group and find out, well, how are they all raising their fees, and try and implement that in your practice. And here's why. Let me save you some time. I tried that and it didn't work. All right. I tried it and it didn't work. And do you know why? It didn't work because it didn't align with me. And here's the really ridiculous thing. I knew the whole time I was doing it that it was wrong for me. I knew that because it didn't feel right. It wasn't sitting right with me. But I pushed on because my ego, my conscious mind was saying, well, you better do it, Brooklyn, because like you've committed to this now and you've got to see it through and you need to raise the fees now so that you can do all of these other things. And come on, just knuckle down and we're just going to deal with it. And some horrible things happened. But I knew my intuition, my gut, my heart, everything was telling me this didn't feel right. So then guess what I did? I got more advice about what I should do. I mean, I made all of the mistakes. I got more advice. I had, more people in Facebook groups telling me, well, you should just do it like this and just do it like this and just do it like that. And so that's what I did. I thought, well, they must know what they're doing because they're doing it. So, okay, I will do it the way that they did it. And so guess what? Did it again and it still didn't feel right. And it didn't feel right because it was not right for me. What I learned, and as I said, listen, because I want to save you the heartache of having drama with your fees. There's no need for drama. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. Here's what I can share with you. It's really around having some guidance around unlocking for you what is going to feel like the right fee for you. Okay? You can't do that if you don't have somebody guiding you to do it. But here's the difference. I'm saying get someone to guide you to finding a way that's going to help you arrive at a session fee that feels good for you. I'm not saying go and do what somebody else is telling you to do and use their model. This is the difference. This is what I mean. The success in your private practice is an inside job. That means we have to get your mindset right around money because this is the thing that's going to trip you up. The reason that I was running around asking everybody else what they were doing and then trying to implement what they were telling me they were doing in my practice and it wasn't working for me was because I doubted myself. I lacked the knowledge of what a fee rise should look like. I lacked the experience and I was afraid, and I thought mistakenly that all these other people must be doing it right and I was doing it wrong, and it wasn't like that at all. What was happening was my mindset was tripping me up. I was afraid, and that was coming out, that was manifesting in how I was talking about my fee rise. It was manifesting in how I was implementing it or not, how I was upholding it or not, all of these sorts of things. And so here's the thing, find someone that can guide you through the process of arriving at a fee for your practice, for your session, for your assessment, for your hourly rate, whatever it is that's going to work for you. And guess what? When you do that inner work and you process your mindset, how does this fee feel for me? What's coming up? Am I feeling butterflies in my tummy? Is that anxiety around it? If it is, what am I afraid of? And do you know what? Fear around fees is an unnecessary evil. It's coming about because you're not feeling confident about the fee you want to raise, and you're not feeling confident about the fee that you want to introduce. And so you're seeking that confidence from other people. Well, if my clients are all right with it, then I'm going to be all right with it. If my colleagues are all right with it, then I'm going to be all right with it. And you've got it back to front. You need to be all right with it in order for your clients to be all right with it. And you need to be all right with it in order for your colleagues or your team to be all right with it. Okay? Some of the things that come up for private practice owners, and I nearly exclusively work with women. I didn't set out to do it that way, didn't set out to have my coaching practice that way. It's just what's happened. Nearly entirely women. And what I've noticed is that, a lot of fear comes up for us around being judged, not being liked, fear of losing referrers, fear of losing clients, fear of judgment by others. All this fear comes up. And what's happening is, it's okay. That fear is designed to keep you safe, right? Kind of like that saying, stay alert but not alarmed. Your mind is saying, let's keep you nice and alert here so that we can keep you safe and we can keep that practice flourishing and thriving and doing all of the beautiful things that it already is. We don't want to jeopardize any of that. I think if you can understand that the fear is coming from a good place, there's good intention behind that fear for you, in that it's bringing things to your attention so that you can address them, then you can work with that fear and you can create a fee that's going to feel right for you. And it's going to feel right on an intuitive level, on a soul level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, on a intellectual level, cognitive level. It's going to feel aligned, and that fear won't be there. The fear is coming up for you because you don't know what's on the other side and you're anticipating the worst. You're not understanding the function of the fear is to help keep you safe. So look at, what are you afraid of? And the thing that you're going to be afraid of is your beliefs. Your beliefs around what's going to happen to your client base, what's going to happen to your referrers, what it's going to mean for the practice. Are you going to have a mass exodus? Are you suddenly going to have no appointments in the diary? And with those beliefs, you start working through each one of those. And guess what? You're going to see that you've got a money story there, or you're going to see that there's a fear mindset story there. And you're probably going to see that those stories don't even belong to you, that you've picked them up from somewhere along the way. And this is just an opportunity you've got now to eyeball them and say, do I still want to hold on to this belief, or do I want to let it go? So you and your fees are an extension of your intention. Your fees are an extension of your intention. What I mean by that is, you have to think about, why do I want to raise the fees in the first place? And for me, you heard, I wanted a nicer space to see clients in. I wanted to welcome them into a space that felt comforting, nurturing, nourishing, inviting, calming, soothing, peaceful, ambient. I wanted the crystals in the room. I wanted incense burning. I wanted them to be able to see trees outside a big glass window. I wanted skylights in my room. I wanted herbal teas available to them. I wanted guided meditations playing in reception. I wanted that, and I couldn't do that in a medical practice. And I knew that if I had that type of beautiful space, that I was going to attract clients that felt drawn to that resonated with that wanted that experience as well. Yeah. I knew that if I were able to raise my fees, I could then invest in doing the waste assessment and the whisk assessment and the Vineland assessment online. And I knew that if I was able to administer them online and get them scored online and get them interpreted online and get the PDF at the end of the session, like almost instantly at the end of the session, have this 20-page PDF that had all the charts, all the scores, all the interpretation, everything in it, well, hey, that just gave me back my life. That meant that I didn't have to give up my personal time to do this, and I knew it was going to make my life easier. I also knew that if I raised my fees, I wouldn't need to book 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 clients in a day, that I could see 4. And when I show up for those 4, I'm excited and I'm more free because there's less pressure. I absolutely believe that there is a correlation between how tired you are and the quality of your session. I don't live in denial and think that if you're seeing 12 clients, person number 12 is getting the same quality of service as person number 1, because I don't believe that for a second. When you're not seeing such a high volume of clients and you bring that down, it means that you can be more prepared, more ready, more invested, more engaged, more whatever it is. And the psychology, the counseling, the therapy, the work shifts. The energy for you shifts. And imagine what that's going to be like for a client, not to be sitting there working with a stressed out, burned out therapist, right? You're honoring the client when you make these decisions for yourself. And when you only see 4 or 5 a day, well, hey, then guess what? You've got 2 or 3 hours in the day to do your admin, or to market your practice, or to tinker around on your website, or to do an email in MailChimp, or to, do some social media posts and go and play around in Canva and talk to your bookkeeper and do some of those other activities that put you in the director role of your practice. And here's the other thing. You are the director of your practice. You do not need a team in order for you to be the director of your practice. As a solo practitioner, you're the director of your practice. You're the boss. So start stepping more into that director role. Get out of employee mindset. Because I bet if you've had jobs in the past and you're working for people, it's like we go to school and we are trained, conditioned to be conformists. We're trained and conditioned to do what we're told, be quiet, follow direction, don't think for yourself, don't colour outside the lines, do as I say, or there's going to be a consequence. And then we move up to, high school, it's the same thing. And we move to university, it's the same thing. And then we go to work and it's the same thing. We've got a manager there that's telling us, don't colour outside the lines, don't think for yourself. This is how it's meant to be done. Follow me. Here's the policy, here's the procedure, do it. And you do it. And then one day you say, blow this, I'm going to start my own private practice. And so that's what you do. And you're starting your own private practice and you're thinking, okay, a lot of this stuff isn't working for me. It doesn't feel right for me. And here's why. It's because nobody taught you how to be the director of your practice. You're going into a practice as a director, but you're bringing your employee mindset with it. You're thinking, I need to see a high volume of clients and in order to turn over the money. You're thinking, oh, wow, if I upset anybody, then that's going to affect my bottom line. You're thinking, oh, wow, if I go outside of the lines, that's going to affect my business. This is all employee mindset thinking. And you need somebody to give you some guidance around what director type thinking is, okay? Because here's the thing, employees don't take risks. They're trained not to take risks. But guess what? A director is going to take a risk, guys. A director, owner of a private practice is required to take risks, whether that's trying an employee assistance program contract and seeing how it goes, whether that's changing your premises and signing a lease, and maybe that's your marketing and seeing what feels right with the marketing. But one of the things about being a director is you absolutely need to take risks. The other thing about being an employee is you do what you're told. And that's why, as a private practice owner, when you're confused about something, you go into these other groups online and you ask, oh guys, what are you doing? And you wait to be told, and then you go and implement what you've been told. I get it. This is what happens, but you're not thinking for yourself because nobody's taught you what it looks like to think as a director, to behave as a director, to feel as a director. It's a real shift in mindset. And if you haven't had that guidance, then you don't know what you don't know. And you're just going to be, fumbling along, and you will be experiencing fear mindset and scarcity mindset and avoidance and discomfort and things not feeling right and good. But imagine what it would be like for you if you did learn how a director thinks, if you did learn how to shift your own thinking into that mindset, stop making it about yourself and start making it about the practice, right? And start making it about the practice being an extension of your purpose. You started this business for a reason, guys. It was, you had a message, or you knew that you could help, or you wanted to help, okay? How's that message showing up for you now? Okay, when you raise your fees, think about all the new and beautiful ways that you're going to help, and think about all those clients that you're going to get to work with. If fear is getting in the way of you being able to raise your fees, or if fear is getting in the way of you having conversations with your team about raising fees. One of the ladies in my group, she's having a bit of trouble with some team, not understanding the rationale behind a fee rise, or not feeling like they're on board with the fee rise and things like that. If that's a fear for you too, get some guidance around finding ways to handle these situations that feel aligned with your purpose, that feel aligned with your vision for the practice, okay? And that's still ethical, and that's still consistent with the reputation that you're building for your practice online and off, and all of those beautiful things. So I have a few transformational questions for you, and you might want to grab your pen and paper so that you can write these down. Okay, the first one is, why do I want to raise my fees? Why do I want to raise my fees? It's your first journal prompt. The second one is, what would implementing those fees look like for me? What would implementing those fees look like for me? What will become available for me when I raise my fees? What will become available for me when I raise my fees? And then the last one is, what guidance do I need to move forward? And who can I ask to help me with that? And if you're finding that, fees, and it's such a huge, we could do like a series of episodes on fees. There's how do you set your fee, how do you decide on the fee, it's how do you implement the fee, how do you maintain that fee, when do you review that fee, it's how do you get your team on board with a fee, how do you get admin on board with a fee, what policies and processes do you need to have when you have a fee. If you're needing guidance about all of those things, then please head over to my website and hit apply now for my coaching program. There are only 5 places available, and we start on the 1st of July. It's affordable and it's designed to help you work through some of this stuff. It's the best investment that you can make in terms of learning how to answer questions for your private practice in a way that aligns with your purpose, your vision, and your why. And if I can share with you anything, I want it to be this. The strategy or the how is only ever 10 to 20% of what's going to make you successful in your private practice. I believe the other 80% is your mindset. It's what you believe about raising fees. It's what you don't believe around raising fees. It's where those beliefs come from. It's your money mindset. It's your fear mindset, all of that sort of stuff. And that is all going to be, if that is all messed up for you, then that's what's going to be reflected in your practice. All right, if you're confused or unsure or your fee isn't sitting right with you, and how do you think that's going to come across when you tell your team that you're raising your fees? Well, they're going to feel like it's, strange and uncomfortable. And if you're feeling like it's mean to raise your fees and people can't afford it and stuff like that, and that's the energy that you bring to that conversation with your team, or that's the energy that you bring to the notice that you're going to put around the practice, or that's the energy that you bring to your policy or procedure about it, or whatever it is, then that's the energy that people are going to receive and pick up on. And guess what? They're going to feed that back to you, and that's going to come back to you with people undermining you, with people saying, oh, it's too much, it's not worth it, who do you think you are, all of this sort of stuff. There's an absolute energy exchange around your money, and money itself is just energy. And that's what I'm saying. It's 80% an inner game. We need to get you okay with your mindset, and you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone. This is such a sensitive topic for all of us. And because I mostly work with women, I'm going to speak to the women for a moment and just say, guys, I know you want to put everybody else first, and you want to help everybody, and you want to be available for everybody, but you're not going to be any good to people if you're burning out, if you're never home, if when you are home, you can't focus on the children or your partner because you're distracted, because you're thinking about work, all right? You need somebody to help you navigate this stuff around the fees. So what I'm going to do for you is 2 things. I'm going to put my website in the show notes. And the other thing that I'm going to do is pop a link to a calculator, a session fee calculator. It's called Session Fees with Soul. You can grab a copy of that if you like. Now, it's an Excel spreadsheet, so you can tinker around with the formulas as much as you like, and have a play around, and you will see just how easy it can be to get to that final figure. So I'll give you the tool, if you like, but the actual strategy is more around looking at the inner processes for you as the director of your practice. Come and get some guidance around this so that you can feel more comfortable moving forward, taking the practice forward for the next 6 months, okay? So you can achieve your practice goals over the next 6 to 12 months. Alrighty? Okay, guys, I will leave it there. I hope you have a really beautiful Wednesday. Stay nice and warm. I put a Facebook post up this morning. I think it was only like 5 degrees. 5 degrees this morning. But that's an improvement on yesterday. Yesterday was only 2 degrees, but I forgot to screenshot it. Anyway, have a beautiful Wednesday. As usual, if you need anything, send me an email or contact me through the website or my social. And yeah, happy to help. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.